welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, a podcast where you live the life you love. No, that's not true. Well, that's true, but it's a podcast where we talk about living the life you love and living the life that you want, actually. And today I have a new friend called Kathy Murphy. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Jasmine.
Kathy and I met during so many of the classes, but we actually just talked in this class that we just finished that was called Do More Cool Stuff. And so we were doing cool stuff and we chatted and I said, come and do more cool stuff with me. And she said, yay. So here we are.
I did. Thank you, Jasmine, for inviting me. You guys, I talked to Jasmine the one time and I was like, yeah, I get to spend time with you and hang out and talk. Absolutely. I'm all in because Jasmine's fun. And this is living the life we love because connecting with you is what I love to do today.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Tell us a little bit more for the people like that are listening to us and that don't know you. Tell them what you do.
Well, I do a variety of things. Mostly I'm a surfer.
Yeah.
And I would have to say
that's why the backdrop.
Yeah, this is why I'm on the beach. But I surf the ocean and I also surf the waves of life. Because to me, it's all the same energy. And I love the adrenaline of the waves. I love the peace and calm. I love the total surrender of us just letting life live us. And the waves for me are the ultimate space where you don't get in your head and you don't try to interfere. So I love coaching. I do the same kind of thing in coaching. And I like to create cool shit in the world, just like Jasmine.
Yeah, we're kindred spirits.
We are. We are.
So today, people, I'm going to play it a little different because Kathy and I were talking and I was sharing that just before this recording, I was actually in a class with Mavis Karn. Those of you who don't know her, Mavis is actually 80 years old, and she's been teaching this understanding for over 30 years, and she learned from Sid. And we had this beautiful conversation. She just brings us back home so quickly. You know, you can just have a conversation with her and all of a sudden you're sitting in, well-being and peace. And today, well, the past few weeks, actually, I've been feeling a little insecure. So let me explain. I've been feeling like I should be doing something else. Like I should be doing more. And I shouldn't be where I was. And in speaking with, well, actually, I wasn't speaking with Mavis. I was just listening. But in listening to Mavis, she basically says things like, and I wrote it down because it was just, it was kind of like, oh, is that true? I want that. So I want to share it with you, Kathy.
Yeah,
so it's actually, I'm like taking a different tangent that what I told you I was going to take because
so we go with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. We're riding a wave.
We're riding wave together.
So Mavis says there's nothing wrong with you. The natural, powerful way to be is just unfamiliar to us. Like it's just unfamiliar to not try to fix ourselves or not try to or not live inside worry, insecurity. Like we're constantly looking for safety. But there's nothing wrong with us. We're just fine the way that we are. You're exactly who you need to be. You're not giving it enough respect. What do you think about that? Let me start with that.
Okay. I love what you talked about because I have probably had a week where I took on some things that had a deadline on them. Of course, the deadline has been like for a year, and I was writing this book. It kept not inspiring me, and I kept just chucking it. And then I had some part, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. It totally felt like the universe coming through me. And it went to the editor, and she sent it back and said, basically, kind of, this is shit. I don't have a clue like what you're trying to say. And so I went into that place of, I'm not good enough to write. And then I tried, well, I got to speak into things. So I would say it to her. She's like, yeah, I get it. I get it when you say it. And I'm like, well, okay, where's the disconnect? I got to fix this disconnect between my ability to write and my ability to speak. And I frustrated the hell out of myself trying to sit down and make myself do it. And it was like, the clock is still ticking. There's like 5 weeks to go. And I've taken on some other things, but I'm like, this morning I sat down, I wrote out this foreword that was kind of is around the waves, and something actually that I said in something where I said, knowing and flowing will keep my ass going. And that's really kind of what the book is about, because it relates to surfing. And I enjoyed doing that. I don't know where it's going to go, like when I sit down later, but it was like going back to trusting that I tend to I'll schedule a whole bunch of stuff, and then I expect myself to do it all in a certain amount of time. And I get in my way when I go to my head and try to think about how to do it, and don't just go from that space of trusting that it'll come to me when I need to do it. So I love that you said that insecurity thing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how quick we get there.
Yeah, but it's also like what I saw is like, so the insecurity that comes, when I'm not like constantly working, when I'm not constantly actively doing something, I get into my head because I think like I have it like, well, I need to work all the time. I need to if I'm not doing it, on a daily basis, then, there's a big problem and I got to fix it, and I'm never going to have any success. And like all of that comes on, and this year I have the added bonus that it's a pandemic and that I haven't been working since March. I have worked, but I haven't been working out of the house. Like I haven't gone to work. I haven't, pushed for something. Do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, so if I haven't done that, I shouldn't be tired. See what shows up is like, okay, well, then it's not, you haven't done anything. So obviously, you shouldn't be tired, because I've been actually tired the past 3 weeks, and I've been resting, and I've been, I've been making creams, and I've been making deodorants, and I've been, looking at my cooking and how to exercise, but I haven't worked. You know what I mean?
You've been creating a whole bunch of neat stuff.
Yeah, but because I haven't generated any money, because I hadn't planted. Oh, look, this is new thought that just showed up that I forgot that I had. Like every day you have to be planting seeds if you want to reap the rewards in the future. So now, oh, wow, I just saw, I'm like, I'm not planting. So if I'm not planting, oh my God, what's going to happen next year? Wow, I'm just going to I'm going to flop next year. And all this pressure is building up, and I've been feeling like, it's in the way basically of me just enjoying life. instead of going, wow, you know what? Today I woke up at 11, right?
Mhm.
I don't wake up at 11. This is not something I do, but today I woke up at 11. And instead of going, wow, I'm so freaking lucky. I could wake up at 11 on the day that I want to wake up at 11. I'm like, oh, you're a stupid bitch.
Oh.
I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you why are you not waking up? You know, and this whole thing that we think, and I'm not alone in this. I know I'm not alone.
Oh no, you're not alone.
In the moment, I feel alone in it, but
Yeah.
you know, there's this thing where we think that if we stress ourselves out enough, then it's like that's a safety thing. Like it's going to keep us safe.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if we think that or we're just so conditioned, like to think, because I could spend a whole day, like go surfing, hang out on the beach, do nothing. And I would have those twinges of, well, I really need to be at home doing this, you know, and except I know when I do something like that, when I sit down to do the work, it goes so quick.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, I got it all done because I took time to listen to myself. I love that you said you listen to your body, because it's like, I said that just the other day. I was like, somebody said something about, how are you doing? I said, I'm kind of tired. And they were like, oh, and I said, yeah, it surprises me. I didn't do a damn thing. I mean, I had my granddaughter all day. It wasn't, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything that was on my list that I had planned to do.
Yeah.
But then I had an opportunity to get my granddaughter and went, yeah, I'll take her, because that's really fun. And that's more important to me than that list. But I still had that thought that, well, how can I be tired? And, you know, I think the less I pay any attention, I never paid attention to my thinking until I got into the 3 principles. And then I became aware that I had thought. And then I was like, oh, I got to fix the thought then, because it had always, people would say, how do you think so positive? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't pay attention. As soon as I started paying attention to it, I was overanalyzing everything. So then I would analyze the analyzing of my thinking about it. And then when I would do something like that and say, well, why am I tired? I'd spend a whole lot of energy and time in my head. And then I'd be like, well, no wonder I'm tired. Like, this is exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah.
More exhausting than going surfing for a few hours.
And that's what Mavis was pointing to today. You know, she was kind of pointing to, you know, like we tire ourselves out with our thinking. And when we're not thinking, this is when we're at our best. When we're not caught up, this is when we're at our best. So if you hear your wisdom telling you, I'm going surfing.
Yeah, that tells me that a lot.
Yeah. Well, but you could get caught up in your thinking about you shouldn't be doing that. You know, it's so funny because, you know, I think I've told you in our first conversation where I've never met a surfer. Well, maybe I did, but they never told me, but you're my first surfer.
Oh, yeah. I'm honored.
You're my first surfer. You're kind of like, surfers were like on TV for me.
On TV. Well, I'd like to be on TV as a surfer one day. We'll see.
It's so innocent, eh? How we like, because we don't live in the same parts of the world, you know, like we were talking about snow for you. Like I was like, it's
like, what? Like, what is it? Yeah.
Yeah. For you, snow is on TV. For me, surfing is on TV. So I think this is just the beauty of it all, you know, how we got different seeings. We see differently the world, even from our different vantage point, wherever we are, you know. So you're in California, I'm in Quebec, Canada. We've got a different vantage point, yet we're the same.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
It is. It's definitely a beautiful thing.
I love it. I love it. And you know, that headspace, that like, there's times that I can have noise in my head and be perfectly calm, because it's not interfering. It's like,
It's like the radio.
I know there's no good or bad noise, but it's like I'm so tuned in that I think that I call it God, like had a great, I was a project for him because I had so much noise in head, but he would still get through. And I'm like, that's pretty amazing to think, because I had like these two things going on. Like one side would do all the analyzing, all the planning, all the stuff. And then I really went by the seat of my pants and just did what I knew to do. But I had this backup system, like mostly because that was how the bureaucracy I worked for did things. So I went through that whole process, but then I was over here doing something totally different. So there was a lot of noise, but yet I still heard that guidance. So I think it's if the noise bothers us, because I can have a tiny amount of noise. Tell me if you get this, like I'll just have one thought and that can interfere. Like it doesn't have to be a lot of noise. It's just like this one little peep.
Well, I have these. Well, what I've noticed is that I have this one thought, and the second that I have it and that I see it, it brings on a shitload of the other thinking, like, but I identify it as one thought. Like because they're just like, it's kind of like the iceberg, like you see the tip of the iceberg, but really under it all,
the whole shitload
of thinking. And there's like, you just have the thought, the money thought, like I don't have enough money. Just a simple thought, right? I don't have enough money, but oh my God, does it carry?
It does. Like, it carries. And then do you find evidence of it? I do.
Of course.
I look around like, what? I owe the IRS how much? I can't pay that.
Yeah. It's like, listen, and it's so funny because I had this conversation with a friend I'm going to share with you. So I have been, financially secure for the past couple of years, but before this, I wasn't. Mm-hmm. So I lived a better part of my life, in financial insecurity, and, and it was a lot. That's why I'm telling you, it's a lot, and I struggle with it, and I had a lot of stress about it, and, it was a lot. And the past couple of years, I've been good, and lately I made a mistake financially somewhere in an account. Something went through and I had an NSF fee. Now, if I go back years ago, NSF was just like, 3 letters.
Yet another.
But I was just so used to living with the stress of it all. Right. I was just so used to living with it. Okay, so I'm going to have to I knew what to do with it. If this happens, here's what I'm going to have to do with it. I knew how to handle all of the thinking that showed up inside those 3 little words. Mm-hmm. So a couple of weeks ago, I had an NSF and I just saw the words insufficient funds. And I went, I could feel it all come through me, like the wave of anxiety and all the thinking that came up with it. And I felt this familiar feeling inside of me. And I was kind of like, my first thought was, I don't want this. I don't want to feel like this no more. No. I don't want to feel it. And I was like, wait a sec. Why am I feeling like this? This was a mistake. Like, you don't have to go nuts about this. You made a mistake. You forgot this and that, whatever, And then I was like, and then I calmed myself down. And then I kind of brought myself back to reality instead of getting caught up into this whole thing. Yeah. Well, that night, and it was like this, it was gone in a flash. I mean, it wasn't like I thought about it and it took so much of my day. And no, it was really quick. It was like, okay, calm down, Jazz, And then I went about my day. And that night, I dreamt that I was getting kicked out of my apartment because of that NSF. Wow. And I woke up the next day and I was like, that's crazy that like it was still, that thinking is still in my body. Like I've stored it somewhere inside me.
Yeah.
And that's how powerful that thinking is, you know? So now I'm just like, at night, I'm breathing and I'm bringing the thinking. I'm bringing the thinking up so that I can feel it and then exhale it so that I can get it out of myself.
Oh, beautiful.
You know what? I have no idea if this is right. Nobody's ever told me to do this. Like I like
Is it working?
but I'm like, this is what I don't know when
Yeah.
I don't want to say this, but should I get another NSF, I'll figure that out.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm
Wow.
just like if I'm energy and you know, thought is energy, and now I stored it inside of me somewhere. Because dreaming is just a continuation of thinking you've had, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's all that is. I remember a time where I used to, look at the books,
Uh-huh.
the dreams. Okay, well, you dreamed that you were caught somewhere. Okay, well, that means that your body, this is going to happen to you, or that. You remember, like these?
That could be scary.
I know it was scary.
I want to know.
It was scary. I stopped doing that. I mean, because that just makes shit up, man.
Yeah. Well, it just makes you think about it. To me, like that's the reason I don't watch much news.
Me
like
too.
people are like, "Oh, the numbers are like way up," and I go, "Why would I even read about it?" Or like, I'm not going to do anything different than I know to do. So to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't want to. And they're like, "Well, why?" And I'm like, because it would freak me out if I looked at something like that. I go, why am I gonna go put myself in sort of some sort of energy that's gonna suck my energy and feed my thought pattern that's gonna create a shitstorm?
Yeah.
It's like I have a choice before I even look at it. And for me, knowing that that's what it would do to me, I'm okay not looking. Like,
yeah,
if there's
I love
something I
that.
need to look at, I will, but otherwise not. So, and when you said, I don't know, nobody told me to do this, but this is what I'm doing. I had a hard time with actually, like when I started hearing about the 3 principles, because I felt like there was this way you had to do it. And that if you were doing extra things like surfing, that you didn't need any of that. And while I see that we don't need it, I really think whatever we do that is helpful, we need to do it.
Yeah.
What we do that's not helpful, we need to not do that.
I agree.
That works for me.
I agree. Like when I first started listening to this understanding, there was like, well, you shouldn't do goals and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. And this thought is wrong. And this is like, I'm like, you know what? No, that's kind of like, and I might receive hate mail for this, but it's kind of like the Catholic religion, the Catholic religion. I mean, and
school.
any religion, but I'm Catholic, so I'm going to talk about Catholicism. It's kind of like, well, if you do this, you're going to go to hell, and I'm kind of like, what are you talking about? I mean, my God, I'm sorry. My God will not send me to hell. My God,
not sending anybody. There is no hell.
The hell is right here when you get stuck in your head.
Yeah, when you're in your head, that's where hell is.
I've been in hell. I've been in hell.
It's all right here, hell and heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right now with us.
Yeah. So like it's just like, what is it what is it for you? Yeah. Like if you look for you, like I'm the same. I stopped reading the news when I was 15. I remember when I was a kid, 13, 14, I would read the newspaper. Man, I would have nightmares.
Oh yeah. There's nothing good in there.
I mean, I kept wanting, I kept being afraid there was going to be, monsters under my bed. There was somebody that's going to break in the house. I was going to get murdered. I mean, I stopped. I just literally stopped. And that's it. And I still don't. And you know, if I want to have little bits, because sometimes I want to have bits, I know the friends I'm going to call that are going to give it to me filtered.
Right. And
You know,
ask them. Yeah.
here's the what's so. Here are the facts. Okay, so we're going to be
Oh,
closed from the 25th to the 11th of
yeah.
January. Okay, great. And I need to keep my gloves and my, yeah. Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I got the rules
Yep,
now.
that's how I am. What changed? Let me know.
Yeah.
Like, let
But
me
I
know.
remember, you know, I remember growing up, you know, and being told that that wasn't right. And, you know, I remember feeling, you know, feeling like, oh, I'm less than because I don't know this. Right.
Yeah.
Like I'd show up when I was in my 20s, I was working for companies and I was interacting with people, you know, like adults that do this. They listen to the news and they could stand there and talk about the news for hours. And I'd be like,
Mm,
I don't know. And I did feel bad. I felt like, oh, well, I should know this. Right.
yeah. That'd be
I,
hard though.
I don't think I'm missing out on anything.
No, you had to like be standing there watching them just suck the energy out of each other though. So it's
Well,
like,
but
should I? Like,
yeah, well, it's good to, I think back then I didn't know though.
yeah.
You know, back then I didn't know that that was something that I like unintentionally, that was the whole point. Like I knew it was draining my energy, but I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was kind of like a thing that I knew, but I couldn't put into words. But now I'm kind of like, no, you know, like I don't want to hear it. I don't want to grow it. I mean, yes, there are things that I need to hear, you
Yeah.
know.
We will.
Yeah, and we will.
We will.
Exactly.
We can get that part.
We'll get it, but I don't need to hear the fear that it creates in other people and take it on
Yeah.
for myself.
No. And like you said, you call your friends because I have friends who I have told because of during this, they are like, you need to be informed. And I'm like, I'm informed enough for me. You can sit and watch that all day if you want. I'm good with that. But don't try to make me look at it or don't try to tell me I have to do it because I do what works for me at the time. I said I might look one I had a friend recently and she was like, I think you ought to go get tested. You've been sick for like several days. I go, I know, that's how my immune system gets. And it's like, she's like, you might have it. And I go, well, then I could have had it like 5 times since it started. I go, but I had it before that. This is something I know what I have. I go, yeah, some of the stuff seems the same. And I go, but why, when I don't leave my house, I don't get 6 feet closer to anybody if I go to the store, the grocery store, and I wear a mask. I said, why would I go get tested?
Yeah. No
She's
need.
like, just because that's what we're supposed to do. And I'm like, I don't see a need for it.
Yeah.
Like, and it caused a lot of like, she was really pissed about it. And I was just kind of like, it was just such a weird, like, we all see it different and we do what works for us. Just like you said, when you were
It's
like,
also caring, right? Like there's a
yeah,
lot
it totally came from caring.
yeah, yeah. We
But
get that. We get that.
yeah,
I'm the same. I mean, I don't go out, you know, and sometimes I go out. Let's say like I actually order my grocery. I order on online and then I just go pick it up instead of having it delivered, you know? I just go
I
pick
did
it up.
that in the beginning, but then
It-
they opened, then Costco had senior hour and there's nobody in there and everybody wears masks. And I'm like, okay, they have my favorite coffee.
okay. Yeah, no, I'm not going to go to Costco, not here.
No.
Trust me, Costco is like, ooh. So yeah, so I like I went out to go pick up this is what I did. I left my house, got into my car, drove over there, stepped out of my car, opened my hood, put the bags in, closed my hood. Then the next day I've got stomach ache. And then of course, you know, that mind
Yeah,
starts.
your head. Yeah.
Yeah. So now
your
I'm like,
head.
okay, well, is that it? And I'm like, okay, calm the hell down, girl. You know, like let's just wait, okay? Let's just not panic. So I think there's like peace in getting that? Okay, are you like just activating it, or is it, like the other day what happened to me was I started having chest pains. And I just turned 50, not like last. I'm actually going to turn
Oh, you're just
51,
a
and
baby.
yeah, I'm just a baby.
You're just a
So
baby.
but I was starting to have chest pains, which is something that I've never had, right?
Yeah.
I've never had
Scary.
chest pains. So I was like, okay, this is new. Like, the heartburn, oh, I have a
Yeah.
pain here. Those are the pains that I know. This pain I didn't know. So it's kind of like, okay, I don't want to go to the hospital. I really don't. So I said, so we can call a nurse here. We've got the
Uh-huh.
811, so we can call her. And then I started asking her questions, and I was like, I have been tired, and so I tell her what I had, and she's like, I really think you should go to the hospital. And I'm like, let me wait. And she's like, I don't think you should wait. I think I should send the ambulance. And I'm like, no, you're not sending the ambulance. No way. So I hopped on my phone and I called a friend, and she was like, I'm going to go bring you. So somebody brought me, and I spent 9 hours
In the emergency room.
in the emergency room. And
Yeah.
by the ninth hour, they told me, you're all good.
Yeah.
And they gave me a pill for heartburn, and I felt much better the day after. And I was like, maybe that was heartburn.
Maybe it was. Yeah, it probably
Right?
was, if you felt better with that.
But I didn't know, this was
No.
new to me. So I'm like, okay, well, I didn't like it, first of all. So I'm going to, so now that's why, since then, because this happened in October or something like that. So now I'm kind of like, okay, well, let me look at my food. So now I'm looking at my food, and I'm just looking at that. It was kind of like just a light for me that says, okay, well, you didn't like that feeling. There's no heart problems in my family, but they said women, they say, the internet, they say women, those people say that the symptoms on a woman are different. So I was kind of like, okay, let me just pay attention. So I'm happy I did it. I'm not unhappy that I did it. And
no, that was a good thing.
yeah, and it wasn't COVID. I didn't have COVID. They didn't test me, but I mean, I'm not worried about it. I'm not.
No, that wasn't I mean, it's, the whole COVID thing is like, I don't think they have a clue like what somebody has, and if they have it, and like just the symptoms are so across the board. It could be anything in any organ, anywhere in your body. And that's kind of what it's called right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's obviously something out there. I mean,
there's definitely something out there that it's a major virus, and they just don't know.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, okay, just don't say there isn't anything, because that's not possible.
Oh, no, there's something. Oh, there's definitely a virus. And
exactly.
People getting all kinds of weird stuff, and there's, a vaccine coming that who knows how long people that got it will live.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's also scary.
It's all just kind of scary. That's why I stay out of a lot of it if I can.
Yeah. So just listen to yourself.
One other thing that you said in there, that like when you were talking about goals, I think one thing that I've really gotten from Michael, and I never got off track from any of the stuff in his groups and things about thinking that anything was like a bad way to do something. I got it as I got more into it. But I remember how he said, I think goals was the first thing I heard him say it about. It's like, well, if goals are useful for you, do them. But like, if they're causing you pressure and stress and getting in your way, don't do them.
Exactly.
And I remember when I heard that, I just loved that, because I thought, yeah, sometimes I'll set goals and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how I choose. I just do. But some things I do better if I go, oh, okay, I want to do this. And okay, somewhere around this time, I'll have it done. And then I just wait.
What I got out of that also for me, it's, create goals if you want to, just for fun. Just don't get stuck in them. don't get stuck in up and then suffer and then, have the sucky life because you're not reaching your goals. It's like, come on, the more you're going to beat yourself up, the less inspiration you're going to have.
Yeah.
Just like keep that flow inside your thinking, like just let it flow. And if that one sticks through, if there's a thought that sticks through, like for me, it's about kindness and love, and that's sticking through, like that stays with me. It's there. Like if I look constantly, I go, okay, yeah, I love love.
Yeah.
Love makes me feel great.
Doesn't
Kindness
it?
makes
Yeah.
me feel great, and that's there. So I'm going to keep doing that. And then, so if there's this thinking of, oh, let's do a podcast and talk about dreams and daring and doing, that's like, for me, that's fun. That's love. That's also something that's present for me. So, but if I'm going to be like, okay, now I have to, structure it all. And like, I have to have this and that, and I should do it like this and like that. And then all of a sudden it just like takes away from the essence that I'm looking for.
Yeah, I feel you. Because that anytime we start putting, I don't do well at all with any kind of a box on something. Like if it has to look a certain way, then I'm like, that's not going to work for me. Like I just get that. I create stress over looking at a box. Now, might I go back later and do something like if I first look at it and go, oh no, that's not for me. Might I go back later and take some part of that and use it with some other kind of, it's going to look different every time anybody does it. But yeah, I might. But at the time, if I'm like that, I'm like, no, I don't need the stress. And like you can feel your energy in your podcast. I love it because you're totally there. You can feel your passion. You can feel the peace inside. It's just like flowing.
Yeah.
And when something is not, and I think you and I are like in this, like if it doesn't have that fun and joy factor in it, I'm not really drawn to it.
Yeah.
It's like, I can have fun at almost anything, but if I'm looking at it and putting all that pressure and stress on myself, I'm probably not going to do it.
Yeah. But see that's the thing that we do, right? We think, like, I know for a fact, innocently, I think, well, if I pressure myself, I'm going to talk about worry, because worry is something that it's a habit for me. Like I kind of like go into worry mode. I'm getting out of it much faster now. But I remember my first coach, she actually asked me, and she was like, but Jasmine, do you think worry is necessary? And I remember saying instantly, but of course not. She says, okay, can you now think about the question I just asked? Because I don't think that you just like, you gave me the answer that you thought I wanted to hear. Can you think about it? And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I think I need to worry. I think I need to worry in order to learn something. I think I need to beat myself up in order to learn something. Like if I make a mistake, let me beat myself up really good so that I'm going to learn my mistake. Right. But if I thought about it after that, I was kind of like, no, I don't need to beat myself up. I've really learned my mistake, like I deleted my father's hard drive, and the first time I used the computer, and trust me, I've never deleted a hard drive after that.
No, it's like, it does. It's funny because I know when I think of that, like I always tell people, I go, women especially are in the most abusive relationship of their life, and it's with themselves. And it's bad enough that like we screw up, and now I've gotten much better at laughing at it, be like, oh, how human is that? Then I'm like stepping away in the cheap seats, looking at myself and laughing like, yeah, that's just human. But then we go back, and now we're going to suffer even more by beating ourselves up from it.
Yeah.
And it's like, And I do it too. I'll slip into that, and then I'll be like, I was so mad at myself because I didn't get something done. And then I'm like, first of all, it didn't get done. And now I'm pissed that it didn't get done. Like, this is crazy. What am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm going to step away and go outside and look at some plants or something. Because it just gets like that space. I don't know where I heard this, but it kind of fits in here where it's like we do something for so long, or we look and the conditioning says this is the way you do it, that abnormal becomes our normal. And so any step outside there is like we're pushing outside our comfort zone to not be there, even if it's a state where the things aren't things that are serving us. So.
We're weird.
No, we're human.
There you go.
We're human. And it, like, just laughing at our humanity is kind of neat. I mean,
yeah, actually,
both.
You know, when you said that earlier, when you said, oh, look at that, how human is that? That kind of like when we can do that, that kind of separates because when we make it about us, it's just it becomes so important. You know, it's like, it's really bad. Look at what I've done. Look at, you know, how stupid I am. You know, like there's so much weight on that, you know, and nobody wants to feel dumb. Nobody wants to feel bad. Nobody signed that contract and said, okay, when I'm going to make a mistake, I'm going to beat myself up. Like now I'm actually paraphrasing Mavis. She said that today. Nobody signed that contract.
Yeah. It's like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. So this is what I want to do. Okay. From now on, I'm going to learn from my mistakes. And when I don't, I'm going to beat myself up for a couple years. You know, what is that about?
Like, oh, it feels heavy just talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's for me, the beauty in coming back to the moment is what gives me relief. Like coming back to the moment. Okay. You know, the past, the past is just stored memory, right? The future doesn't exist. It's made up thought. You know, the past is memory made up of thought that we made up again, right? So what's going on right now? What's like, and that has brought me back to getting calm. And I have this little angel here called Freedom, you know, and I drew this little angel. Like I had a podcast with a friend just before you, who's going to come on before you. And she was like, I love doing tarot. And I was like, oh, that's so fun, because I actually found my angel cards, because I love my angel cards. So I'm actually going to draw an angel card for you. Like that was mine that I drew. So I'm going to draw an angel card for you now. And it's, oh, look at that. Simplicity.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect. I think it's perfect too.
It's perfect. Staying in simplicity is so key. Like for me in everything, and with simplicity comes clarity for me.
Yeah.
And when I complicate stuff, even like trying to write, if I get in my head, I complicate it.
Yep.
And then it becomes hard. And that simplicity of being in the moment. Like, it's funny. I said something to somebody the other day and I said, you never have a thought in your head when you're riding a wave, do you? They're like, no. Like, why would I? And I'm like, how do you do when this comes up in your life? And they were like, well, that one I have to think about. Like, it's like when we were talking about that trusting that something else is doing the heavy lifting, not us. Yeah. But it never stops doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if it's complicated, it's the intellect.
Yeah.
And if it's simple, it's spirit.
It's spirit. Yeah. Spirit is simple and clear, huh?
Yeah.
I know I asked, I think it was in the cool stuff. It had to be because it was recent with Michael. And
Yeah.
I asked the question one day and I said, do I really need any thinking in my head? Like, I'm not really finding any that I actually need. Like, it's like, because I don't want to look and like sort it out. And it's like knowing, and I don't know that I know that the universal thought that goes through also has that infinite intelligence and creativity and everything. But I don't think of those as thought. Those are more felt. The other thoughts are just thoughts.
Well,
I was judging the thoughts.
Yeah. No, I had the breakthrough of, one day I really saw that. Well, actually, it was Christy that told me this after a share that I had done during Super Coach Academy. And she was like, Jasmine, you have it like wisdom good, thought bad, but it's really all one. Like we call it the three principles, but it's just how we work, right?
Yeah,
so,
it is. Totally.
Right. So yeah, we need thought because that's what helps us create. That's right. Thought is the superpower. The thing is that we have to understand when our thinking is off, we have a bad feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
And we need to understand that those bad feelings are really short till we put energy in them.
Yeah.
Like if we do nothing.
Yeah, they flow. They're like the wind.
And it will flow and we'll feel different in a few minutes versus taking it in and having a bunch of time. And I think for me, it's like, it's not like not liking thought. It's not like judging that those ones that go through that are going to get us in that storm are bad. Like you said, it's like, oh, those are just thought. And the other ones I can have an overfull mind with so many ideas that who was I talking to? Somebody the other day, and we were talking about, it was Tracy from our group. We were talking about having a little chip in our head, like that just recorded everything that came through. Because she's like, I could write like 4 books by now. It's like, if we could have something in there that just picked up all that stuff, it would be awesome.
What also happens is, like, one of the things that I saw was that, I thought that the thoughts were bad, but it's like you said, you were judging the thought. So you're just in the thought. You're like, you see a thought and, there are these thoughts that we see and that we want to fix. So those, I think that we're deep enough in the conversation to understand that we see this thought and we're like, okay, well, I want to fix it. And then we understand that, okay, well, if I do it this way and if I do it that way, will that fix it? No. Okay. If I go this way, okay, it might fix it. No, I'm not sure. So we understand this process is going in our heads, but we don't understand that when we see a thought and we start judging it, we're in our heads. We're in our head
right away. Yeah. There it is.
Instantly. Like we're kind of like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So that, when I saw that, I was like, holy shit. It was like my mind was blown.
They are wrong.
I remember I told Michael, I was like, but Michael, I'm always in my like I always see my thinking, like I'm just stuck in consciousness of seeing the thinking. And he was like, are you judging the thinking? And I was like, yeah. Okay, well, you're in thinking. You're not in conscious. You're not.
Yeah, we're not conscious. We think we are because we're seeing it. Now, I do better if I don't pay any attention to it. I still get those downloads and I do much better in that space. I think that, like, when I'll work with people, I talk about like reimagining the future and stuff. And I had the feeling in the beginning, oh, that's wrong. You can't have people do that. But it's like, in the human sense, what we focus on, we get. So that same thought that allows us to leave the past behind. I mean, I used to always work with people on stuff from number one, like, let's set this impossible thing so we can, like, have you plan a good future. And then they would focus on those thoughts. I still see a place for that in myself and with others, because like, I don't do it on a small scale thing, but like big vision. Yeah. I want to be thinking, oh, wow, this is where we'll be. We'll be out in the world again. We'll be doing these things. I don't know when, doesn't matter. Yeah. But I think that power of thought, really, when we become aware of it and we know that we have a choice what we put energy into, focus on, try to fight, or anything puts energy in it, it's going to bring us more of it. And so for me, like those really, like, if I get an idea about something, I'm like, whoa, like, that's awesome. I'll sit down and like write notes that come to me and stuff, because I'm like, that's a really neat idea.
That's what I do all the time. When I go into these conversations, or I go into the classes, I always have a notebooks, because I get, I get settled. My mind gets settled, and all of a sudden, thinking shows up, and this idea go, oh, and I just like the other day I wrote one, and it was just like, do you know who said this? Like, I was like, okay, I think that would be a cool idea on a post to say, do you know who said this? And write a quote. And I was like, oh, that's nice. So I wrote that down, and I was like, but I haven't done anything with it yet, but I know I'm going to do. And it's still, and I can see it still forming. And I was like, okay, I want to let it form and see what's going to happen. But when
that's why we need that chip. When they're ready, they just pop out.
Yeah. Well,
there it is. Somebody did
right
it.
Now, my chip is my pen and my book.
Yeah. And I do the same thing though. I take notes in our groups, and it's like, I feel bad because I'll like stop and write, but whatever somebody says, something comes to me out of it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to write that down, because I'm going to forget.
Yeah. Like, I don't have memory either.
I want to write it down.
I have these, these thoughts, and then I just write a few key things. And sometimes I don't even go back to it. And sometimes I do. And then I go, oh, I like this one. Oh yeah, I wrote this somewhere. Let me go. And then but it's about seeing the difference. Like it has helped me see the difference, like I could, and it's making me practice between, okay, I just heard something. This is nice. I'm doing this right now. This is more important. I'm going to come back to this later. Right.
Yeah, but jotting a couple words, then we like it flows. But then if it is something we're going to run with, it'll come back.
Yeah.
By writing it down. I have to hop off shortly because I have a 2:30 call.
Yes, actually, let's close it up. Let's do it. Let's close it up. I'm going to ask you two more questions. The first questions, if somebody's listening to this and is thinking of dreaming, daring, doing, and living the life they want, do you have a nugget of wisdom for them? Like, would there be, just a little nugget, something?
Just a nugget.
Yeah, just a nugget.
Dreaming, whether you're awake or asleep, is a beautiful thing. Daring, that's the knowing. The knowing comes in the dreaming. Daring is the go part. Know, go. And the flow is your life after you do that. So dream it. Take one tiny, tiny step, and you'll know if that's the way or not for that step. And you will live and flow right there.
Nice. I know my cat wants my attention. Okay, and if
okay, Mom, you're done.
Yeah, he's such a his name is Frankie. He's such a sweetheart. So if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
You could find me on Instagram or at my website. Both are We Are Rising Tides.
We Are a Rising Tides.com.
Yeah, wearerisingtides.com. Yeah, tail going across the front. I love it.
Hey, uncensored.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. It was a great conversation. We've actually talked an hour. We had a lot to say.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Jasmine, thank you so much for having me. What an honor to be here with you and get to be part of this beautiful place for dreaming and daring and living that life.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for accepting my invite. And everybody else, I'm going to ask you, or I'm going to wish you this: dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you love. Have a good one. Take care.
Bye. Thank you, Jasmine.